Lyra knew the stars like she knew the freckles on her nose, though hers were far fewer and far less numerous than the glittering dust scattered across the velvet canvas of night. Every evening, as the last blush of sunset faded from the highest peaks of the whispering spires, Lyra would climb to her window seat. It was a cozy nook in their small moss-roofed cottage, carved into the sturdy living trunk of the ancient great oak that sheltered their home. From here, she had the perfect view of the entire Oakhaven Valley, a gentle bowl of emerald and sapphire, and above it, the boundless, breathtaking expanse of the sky. Oakhaven was a place woven from quiet magic. The very air hummed with the scent of pine needles and damp earth, punctuated by the sweet aroma of moon-petal blossoms that unfurled only after dusk. The houses, crafted from timber and riverstone, seemed to grow organically from the forest floor, their windows glowing with the soft, warm light of ember lamps. The villagers, Lyra's people, lived in harmony with the ancient trees, listening to their rustling whispers and drawing comfort from their age-old presence. But, more than anything, they lived by the stars. For generations beyond counting, the people of Oakhaven had believed that the stars were not merely distant lights, but rather the visible threads of a grand celestial tapestry, woven by ancient beings known as the Star Weavers. Each constellation told a story, each glittering point a note in a vast, silent song that kept the world in balance. Lyra, with her hair the color of spun moonlight and eyes like deep, mossy pools, felt this connection more keenly than most. While other children chased fireflies or listened to tales of forest sprites, Lyra's heart yearned for the heavens. Her grandmother, Nana Elara, often said that Lyra had starlight in her soul. Nana Elara was old, her face a roadmap of gentle wrinkles, her hands gnarled like ancient roots. Yet her eyes, though clouded with age, still held a sparkle that mirrored the constellations Lyra loved. She was the village's storyteller, the keeper of the old ways, and it was from her that Lyra had learned most about the Star Weavers and the celestial song. Long, long ago, Nana Elara would begin, her voice a soft murmur like the silver stream winding through the valley. The stars sang so loudly that you could feel their hum in your bones. They weren't just seen, Lyra love, they were felt. Their light nourished the very earth, made the moon-petal glow brighter, and guided every step we took. It was a time of pure, shimmering magic, a time when the star heart beat strong. "What is the star heart, Nana?" Lyra would always ask, perched on a stool by the crackling hearth, mesmerized by the dancing shadows. Nana Elara would sigh, a sound like autumn leaves falling. "The star heart, child, is, well, it's not a thing you can touch. It's the very core of all starlight, the source of the celestial song. It beats at the center of everything, keeping the universe in harmony. It was said that a long, long time ago, it was so vibrant, so full of magic, that pieces of its song would sometimes fall to our world as star shards. But those days were long past. Lyra knew it, even if no one else spoke of it openly. The stars, while still beautiful, felt. Their hum, which Nana Elara spoke of, was now a faint whisper, barely audible even to Lyra's sensitive spirit. The moon petals, though still lovely, didn't glow with the same intensity. A subtle, almost imperceptible stillness had begun to creep into Oakhaven, a gentle fading that most attributed to the passage of time, or perhaps just their own failing memories of a brighter past. Nana Elara, however, called it the Great Stillness, and a shadow would cross her face whenever she spoke of it. One particular night, as the twin moons of Eridor and Lunara ascended, casting their silvery glow over the valley, Lyra settled into her window seat. She traced the familiar patterns of the Great Bear, the hunter's bow, and the gossamer veil of the Star Maiden's hair. But tonight, something was different. A tiny flicker, barely visible to the naked eye, caught her attention. It was not a star nor a meteor, but something else entirely. It seemed to detach itself from the very fabric of the sky, a minuscule tear in the dark velvet. It wasn't falling fast, like a shooting star. Instead, it drifted, a slow, shimmering descent, like a single luminous tear weeping from the heavens. Its light was unlike any star Lyra had ever seen. A soft, iridescent glow, swirling with colors that shifted from deepest indigo to palest gold, then to a fleeting rose. It was enchanting, mesmerizing, and utterly impossible. Lyra pressed her nose against the cool glass, her breath misting the pane. She watched, heart thrumming a frantic rhythm against her ribs as the luminous speck grew larger, closer. It was heading directly for Oakhaven. Directly for Jerry Cottage. A tiny gasp escaped her lips as it passed through the outermost branches of the great oak, its light momentarily dimmed by the leaves, only to re-emerge, brighter than before, sailing silently towards her open window. It wasn't hot, like a falling rock. It was cool, radiating a gentle warmth that tingled on her skin even before it entered the room. With a soft, almost inaudible clinking, the object landed on her windowsill, right beside her favorite well-worn copy of Tales of the Starweavers. It was a crystal. No, not a crystal in the earthly sense. It was a fragment of pure light, solidified. Roughly the size of her thumb, it pulsed with that same ethereal, shifting glow, casting dancing colors across her small, cozy room. It felt cool to the touch, smooth as polished glass, yet alive. A faint, almost silent hum vibrated from it, a melody so soft Lyra wondered if she was imagining it. But no. She felt it in her fingertips, a gentle current flowing into her hand. This was a star shard. She knew it, with a certainty that settled deep in her bones. Nana Elara's stories had come alive right here, in her window. Fear mingled with a profound sense of wonder. She snatched her hand back, then, compelled by an irresistible curiosity, reached out again, her fingers trembling as they closed around the radiant fragment. The hum intensified, a silent song that resonated only within her. It felt ancient and lonely. She held it tightly, pressing it against her chest, feeling its cool, vibrant energy seep into her. It felt like a piece of the night sky had come to rest in her hands, a whispered secret, meant only for her. Lyra knew she couldn't keep this to herself. Not entirely. She slipped out of her window seat, the star shard clutched carefully in her palm, its light barely contained by her fingers. Her bare feet made no sound on the cool wooden floor as she padded across the small cottage to Nana Elara's room. The door creaked open, revealing Nana Elara asleep in her bed, moonlight painting her silver hair. Lyra hesitated, then took a deep breath. This wasn't just any dream. This was real. Nana? Lyra whispered, her voice barely a breath. Nana Elara stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She blinked, her gaze unfocused for a moment, then sharpened as she saw Lyra standing there, bathed in the soft, iridescent light emanating from her cupped hands. Lyra, love. What is that? Nana Elara's voice was hoarse with sleep, but a tremor of something else, something akin to awe, laced her words. Lyra opened her hands, revealing the pulsating star shard. Its colors danced across Nana Elara's face, painting her old features with hues of cosmic wonder. Nana Elara gasped, a sharp intake of breath. She sat up, her eyes wide, unblinking, fixed on the glowing fragment. A star shard, she breathed, her voice filled with a reverence Lyra had never heard before. The stories, they are true. Lyra nodded, her own wonder reflected in her wide eyes. It fell, Nana. From the sky, it came right to my window. Nana Elara reached out a trembling hand, her fingers brushing the cool, smooth surface of the star shard. As she touched it, the hum intensified, and a faint, almost imperceptible melody, like the distant ringing of tiny bells, filled the room. Lyra realized Nana Elara could hear it too. This is not just any star shard, Lyra, Nana Elara whispered, her voice filled with a newfound urgency. This is a whisper from the star heart itself. It has been silent for so long, so long. She closed her eyes for a moment, a deep furrow appearing between her brows. The great stillness, it grows stronger. The star heart weakens. But this? She opened her eyes, fixing Lyra with a gaze that seemed to pierce right through her. This is a sign. A desperate plea. A plea for what, Nana? Lyra asked, her voice barely audible. Nana Elara took Lyra's hands, encasing them around the star shard. The celestial song, child. The harmony of the universe. It is fading. The star heart, the very core of all starlight, is losing its light, and when it goes, so too will the magic of Oakhaven. So too will the light of the moon petals, the whispers of the trees, the very warmth of our hearths. A chill, colder than the night air, snaked down Lyra's spine. She had always felt the fading, but to hear it spoken with such gravity, such fear, made it terrifyingly real. "But what can we do?" Lyra asked, her voice small. Nana Elara's gaze was intense, unwavering. "This star shard, Lyra, it is not merely a fragment of light, it is a piece of the star heart's memory, a fragment of its song, and it has chosen you." She squeezed Lyra's hands gently. "The old tales speak of a time when the star heart was first threatened. It was saved by a child of Oakhaven, a child who listened to the whispers of the stars and followed their light. They say this child carried a star shard, a guide to a place long forgotten." "A place?" "The place where the star heart rests," Nana Elara confirmed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hidden away, protected by ancient magic, deep within the whispering spires, it is said to be a chamber of pure starlight where the celestial song can be reawakened." She paused, her gaze sweeping over Lyra's face, as if searching for something. "The star shard will guide you, Lyra. It will lead you to the star heart, and only you with your starlight soul can help it remember its song." Lyra looked down at the glowing fragment in her hands. It pulsed, a silent heartbeat, warm and steady. It felt heavy with purpose, a weight of destiny resting in her small palms. The fear was still there, a knot in her stomach. But it was now overshadowed by a burgeoning sense of responsibility, a thrilling call to adventure that resonated with the deepest part of her dreaming soul. "I don't know how, Nana," Lyra confessed, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm just Lyra." Nana Elara smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that softened the lines around her eyes. "You are not just Lyra, child, you are Lyra, daughter of Oakhaven, granddaughter of the stars. And you have the star shard. That is more than enough." She reached under her pillow, pulling out a small, intricately carved wooden box. It was old, polished smooth by countless touches, and smelled faintly of dried herbs and ancient parchment. "This was given to me by my grandmother, and to her by hers," Nana Elara explained, her fingers tracing the patterns on the lid. "It is a map of sorts, not of roads or rivers, but of whispers and echoes. The star shard will illuminate its true path." She opened the box, revealing a tightly rolled scroll of parchment, brittle with age. Its surface was covered in strange symbols and constellations Lyra had never seen before. "The journey will be long, Lyra love, and perhaps dangerous," Nana Elara continued, her voice firm now, full of a quiet strength. "But you are not alone. The star shard will be your light, and the spirit of Oakhaven will be with you. You must seek the star heart, and help it sing again, before the great stillness claims us all." Lyra looked from the ancient map to the pulsating star shard, then back to Nana Elara's determined face. The hum of the star shard in her hands grew stronger, a silent invitation, a beckoning melody. She felt a surge of courage, a fire kindling in her heart. The stars were calling her, and she, Lyra of Oakhaven, was ready to answer. She would find the star heart. She would help it remember its song. The hum of the star shard in her hands grew stronger, a silent invitation, a beckoning melody. She felt a surge of courage, a fire kindling in her heart. The stars were calling her, and she, Lyra of Oakhaven, was ready to answer. She would find the star heart. She would help it remember its song. Nana Elara, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and a gentle sorrow, placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "The path will be long, little starfinder, and sometimes lonely. But remember, the greatest magic lies not in the grandest spells, but in the quietest courage and the truest heart. And this," she gently tapped the star shard, "will always guide you." She pressed a small leather-bound pouch into Lyra's free hand. "For the journey, sustenance, and a little comfort." Lyra nodded, her throat tight with unsaid goodbyes. She clutched the pouch and the star shard, feeling the warmth of both. With one last hug, smelling of lavender and starlight, Lyra turned towards the ancient oak door that led out of Nana Elara's cottage, and indeed, out of Oakhaven itself. The village was still slumbering, wrapped in the cool embrace of pre-dawn twilight. Only the first hints of rose and gold kissed the eastern horizon, painting the sky with the promise of a new day and a new adventure. Stepping out, the air was crisp and carried the scent of damp earth and awakening flora. The familiar path that wound through the sleepy houses of Oakhaven now felt like a threshold to a vast, unknown world. The map, tucked safely inside her satchel, seemed to pulse with a faint inner light, echoing the star shard's glow. Her small boots, sturdy and worn, crunched softly on the gravel as she walked away from the only home she had ever known. Beyond the last moss-covered cottage, the well-trodden village path dissolved into a narrow, winding track that led into the whispering woods. This was a place of gentle shadows and ancient trees, whose branches intertwined to form a living cathedral ceiling. Lyra had often played near its edges, but never ventured deep. Now, the trees seemed to lean in, their leaves rustling a soft welcome, or perhaps a curious murmur. The star shard in her hand pulsed a little brighter, casting a pale, ethereal glow that illuminated the path ahead. The deeper she walked, the more the magic of the woods unfurled around her. Luminescent moss clung to the bark of ancient oaks, glowing with a soft, steady light. Tiny, bell-shaped flowers, unseen in Oakhaven, chimed with a delicate, almost inaudible melody whenever a breeze stirred their petals. The air grew cooler, imbued with the scent of pine and something wilder, like distant honeysuckle and damp stone. Lyra found herself listening, truly listening, for the first time. She could hear the rustle of unseen creatures, the trickle of hidden streams, and beneath it all, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper, the voice of the woods itself. Yet even here, the shadow of the great stillness was subtly present. The bellflower's chimes were softer than she imagined they should be, their notes sometimes fading abruptly as if forgotten. The luminescence of the moss was beautiful, but it lacked the vibrant, joyful sparkle she'd once glimpsed in Nana Ilara's stories. The woods were beautiful, yes, but held a quiet melancholy, a sense of holding its breath. As the sun climbed higher, filtering through the dense canopy in shifting patterns of gold and emerald, Lyra felt a pang of loneliness. The silence, broken only by the gentle sounds of the woods, was vast. She missed Nana Ilara's comforting presence, the familiar scent of her cottage, the distant sounds of village life. She reached into her pouch and pulled out a small, sun-dried apple and a piece of oat bread. Eating slowly, she considered the map. It depicted the whispering woods as the first major hurdle, a wide green expanse. Beyond it, a shimmering, almost ethereal landscape was marked as the azure plains, and further still, towering, jagged peaks labeled the crystal spires. Her finger traced a faint, dotted line leading through the woods, towards a symbol that looked like a spiraling fern. This must be the path. Suddenly, a flash of iridescent blue darted past her eye, so swift it was almost a blur. Lyra blinked, wondering if she had imagined it. Then it came again, circling her head, a tiny creature with wings like a dragonfly's, but shimmering with all the colors of a rainbow. It was no bigger than her thumb, its body a delicate swirl of emerald and sapphire, its antennae quivering with curiosity. It hovered before her face, its large black eyes seeming to study her with an intelligent intensity. "Hello?" Lyra whispered, afraid to startle it. The creature tilted its head, then let out a soft, melodious trill, a sound like tiny wind chimes. It danced in the air, then landed gently on the star shard in Lyra's hand. Its tiny feet felt like the lightest touch of dew. As it rested there, the star shard pulsed with renewed vigor, and the creature's own colors seemed to brighten, as if drawing energy from it. "You like it?" Lyra asked, a small smile touching her lips. The creature trilled again, then vibrated its wings, pointing one delicate antenna further down the path. It seemed to be urging her onward. "Are you guiding me?" she wondered aloud. The creature chirped, then took flight, weaving playfully ahead, occasionally looking back as if to ensure she followed. Lyra, her heart lighter than it had been all morning, rose and began to walk, her new companion leading the way. She decided to call it Flicker, for the way it danced and shimmered. Flicker led her deeper into the woods, past trees that seemed to grow in spirals, their bark etched with ancient symbols Lyra didn't understand. The path grew less defined, sometimes disappearing entirely, but Flicker always knew the way, its iridescent form a beacon in the dappled light. They reached a part of the woods where the trees grew exceptionally close, their roots forming a tangled, gnarled barrier across the ground. The air here was heavy, almost still. The faint chimes of the bellflowers were silent, and the luminous moss barely glowed. A sense of unease settled over Lyra. This was the stillness more pronounced here. It wasn't just a lack of sound or light. It was a feeling of something missing, a vibrancy leached away. Flicker, usually so energetic, moved slower, its colors muted. It landed on Lyra's shoulder, its tiny body trembling slightly. Ahead, the path was completely blocked by a thicket of what looked like thorny interwoven vines, pulsing with a faint, sickening purplish hue. They seemed to absorb the light around them, creating a pocket of oppressive gloom. Lyra approached cautiously. The vines were unlike any she had seen. They bristled with thorns that seemed to hum with a low, dissonant chord, and their branches writhed slowly, as if with a life of their own. It was impossible to pass through. "What are these?" Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. Flicker let out a soft, distressed sound. She remembered Nana Elara's words. The greatest magic lies not in the grandest spells, but in the quietest courage and the truest heart. And Nana had also spoken of forgotten melodies. Lyra remembered a story about the weeping thorns, creatures of the woods that grew from sorrow, and could only be soothed by a song of pure joy. Could these be the weeping thorns, forgotten and twisted by the stillness? The map had a small, almost invisible note next to the spiraling fern symbol. "Where silence binds, a melody unwinds." Lyra took a deep breath. She reached for the star shard, holding it out towards the thorny thicket. Its light, though gentle, seemed to push back against the oppressive gloom. The purplish hue of the vines receded slightly, as if unwilling to meet the star shard's purity. Then, Lyra began to hum. It was a simple lullaby Nana Elara often sang, a tune about the quiet strength of the moon and the gentle kindness of the stars. Her voice was small at first, a little shaky, but as she hummed, she focused on the warmth of the star shard in her hand, on Flicker's comforting presence on her shoulder, and on the memory of Nana Elara's smile. She poured all her courage and hope into the melody. As her hum gained strength, a miraculous thing began to happen. The dissonant hum of the thorns began to soften, to blend with her tune. The writhing branches slowed, then became still. The purplish glow faded, replaced by a softer emerald green. The thorns themselves seemed to retract, shrinking back into the vine. Slowly, gently, the interwoven branches began to part, creating a narrow, arching passage just wide enough for Lyra to step through. Flicker chirped excitedly, its colors blazing with renewed life. Lyra smiled, a genuine, joyful smile. She had done it. She had helped a forgotten melody unwind a binding silence. Stepping through the archway of now gentle vines, Lyra felt a surge of confidence. The path ahead beckoned, bathed in the soft, welcoming light of the star shard. Beyond the weeping thorns, the whispering woods began to thin, giving way to a new landscape. The trees became sparser, their branches reaching up towards a sky that seemed impossibly vast. The ground underfoot changed from soft earth to a gentle slope covered in an unusual type of grass, tall slender stalks tipped with tiny crystalline bells. This was the Azure Plains, just as the map foretold. The wind here sang a different song, a gentle, airy whistle that danced through the crystalline grass, coaxing out 1,000 delicate chimes. It was a symphony of whispers and tinkles, a constant shimmering melody that filled the air. Lyra gasped, mesmerized. The colors of the plains were breathtaking. Shades of sapphire and emerald under a sky of brilliant, unending blue. But even here, the stillness had left its mark. The chimes, though beautiful, were not as rich and full as Lyra imagined they should be. Some of the crystalline bells were dull, their voices silent. The colors, while vibrant, held a subtle undertone of longing, as if waiting for a missing note to complete their harmony. Flicker, however, seemed to revel in the open space. It zipped and soared, tracing intricate patterns against the endless sky, its rainbow wings catching the sun. It would dive low, brushing against the crystalline grass, sending bursts of bright, clear notes cascading around them. Lyra walked on, her spirits lifted by the sheer beauty of the place, even with its underlying sadness. As they journeyed across the plains, the land began to undulate, rising and falling in gentle waves. In the distance, Lyra could see a shimmering line, like a river of liquid starlight, cutting across the landscape. The map marked it as the River of Lost Echoes. Its waters, according to Nana Elara's stories, were not truly water, but woven from the lingering memories of dreams and forgotten songs. And it could only be crossed by those who truly listened. Approaching the river, Lyra realized its unique nature. It wasn't flowing in the conventional sense. Instead, shimmering mists rose from its surface, swirling and coalescing into ephemeral shapes, faint outlines of ancient animals, fleeting glimpses of forgotten faces, wisps of long-lost melodies that seemed to dissolve as quickly as they appeared. The river itself glowed with a soft internal light, a pale, milky blue. Flicker landed on her shoulder, its tiny body tense. "Is it dangerous?" Lyra whispered, feeling the peculiar humming stillness emanating from the river. Flicker chirped sadly, then pointed its antennae towards the river's surface. Lyra peered closer. The mist-shapes were beautiful, but they were also faint, like a memory on the verge of disappearing forever. The river, too, seemed muted, its glow dimmer than she expected. The stillness was deep here, threatening to swallow the very echoes of memory. She looked at the map again. Next to the river of lost echoes, a small symbol depicted a lyre, and the words, "Key to E cross the waters of memory, recall the song of joy's beginning." "A song of joy's beginning," Lyra murmured. What could that mean? The river looked too wide and too ethereal to simply wade across. She remembered a story about the river's mist solidifying into stepping stones, but only for those whose hearts were attuned to its ancient rhythms. She closed her eyes, holding the star shard close. She focused on the warmth, on its gentle hum. She tried to listen to the river, not just with her ears but with her whole being. She heard the faint whispers of the mist shapes, the almost silent echoes of forgotten laughter, of distant music, of soft goodbyes. It was a mournful, beautiful chorus, so quiet it was almost painful. Then, a thought struck her. Joy's beginning. What was the first joy she truly remembered? Not a fleeting happiness, but a deep, foundational joy. It was the feeling of Nana Ilara singing to her as a baby, a simple, wordless melody that had always brought comfort and warmth. It was the feeling of being loved, safe, and cherished. Lyra opened her eyes. She took another deep breath, letting the star shard's gentle light envelop her. She began to sing. It wasn't a complex song, but a simple, heartfelt melody, the very one Nana Ilara had sung to her, imbued with all the love and comfort she could remember. She sang of the warmth of a hearth, the comfort of a gentle touch, the quiet magic of a starlit night. As her voice, clear and pure, carried across the river of lost echoes, a remarkable transformation began. The muted milky blue of the river deepened, gaining a vibrant, luminous intensity. The swirling mists brightened, and the ephemeral shapes within them solidified, becoming more distinct, more real. And then directly before her, where her voice seemed to touch the river's surface, small, glowing stepping stones began to emerge from the mist. They weren't solid rock, but rather solidified light, shimmering with the same pale blue as the river, each one humming softly with the echo of her song. They formed a path, winding gently across the wide expanse of the river of lost echoes. Flicker, chirping with delight, flew ahead and landed on the first stone. Lyra, her heart swelling with wonder, took her first step onto the path of light. The stone felt cool and firm beneath her boot, vibrating gently with the resonance of her melody. Each step she took seemed to strengthen the stones, making them glow brighter. She walked slowly, carefully, continuing her song, allowing her voice to carry her across the river of memories. As she passed, the mist shapes on either side of the path seemed to nod in recognition, their forms solidifying for a moment in the light of her song, as if remembering themselves. She saw faint images of ancient creatures, long-extinct birds taking flight, brave warriors on noble steeds, and gentle folk dancing under a harvest moon. They were echoes of a vibrant past, brought to life, however briefly, by her song. When she reached the other side, the last stepping stone dissolved back into the shimmering mist behind her. Lyra turned, watching the river slowly return to its more muted, dreamlike state, but she noticed a subtle difference. Its glow was a little stronger, its whispers a little clearer than when she had first arrived. Her song had awakened something, however small. Flicker landed on her shoulder, nudging her cheek with its tiny head. Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. The challenges were daunting, but she was learning, growing, and the star shard was proving to be a true guide, not just with its light, but by drawing out the magic within herself. The landscape beyond the river of lost echoes was different again. The azure plains began to give way to rolling hills, covered in a type of silvery, shimmering grass that rustled with a sound like distant laughter. Ahead, in the far distance, Lyra could now clearly see the towering, jagged peaks mark the crystal spires on her map. They gleamed like colossal shards of moonlight against the brilliant blue sky, their highest points piercing the clouds. As they ascended the first of the rolling hills, the air grew cooler, carrying a faint, sweet scent of unseen flowers. The stillness here was less about muted sounds, and more about a strange, ethereal silence that seemed to cling to the very air, as if the land itself was holding its breath. The silvery grass, though beautiful, shimmered with a delicate, almost fragile light, as if it might fade at any moment. Flicker, however, seemed to enjoy the gentle climb, darting between the grass stalks, occasionally bringing Lyra a tiny, glowing seed pod. These pods, when gently squeezed, released a puff of sparkling dust that smelled faintly of cinnamon and starlight. Lyra collected a few in her pouch, thinking they might be useful later. They walked for many hours, the crystal spires growing larger with every step, their jagged outlines becoming more defined. By late afternoon, the sun began its descent, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple. Lyra found a sheltered hollow amidst some particularly tall, silvery grass, where she and Flicker could rest. She ate another piece of oat bread and an apple, sharing crumbs with her tiny companion. As darkness fell, the stars emerged, a dazzling tapestry across the velvet sky. But Lyra noticed something peculiar. Many of the stars, while still present, seemed dimmer, their light a little less vibrant, their twinkle less playful. It was another manifestation of the stillness, reaching even into the heavens. The star shard in her hand, however, pulsed with a strong, comforting light, almost as if trying to make up for the fading stars above. Lyra held it up, watching its gentle glow illuminate the quiet hollow. She felt a deep connection to it, a sense of purpose that warmed her even in the cool night air. Suddenly, Flicker chirped excitedly, drawing her attention to something just beyond their hollow. A faint, almost transparent glow pulsed from behind a rise in the silvery grass. It wasn't the star shard's light, nor the glow of the grass. It was something else, ancient and deeply magical. Lyra, intrigued, rose quietly, Flicker settling on her shoulder. She crept towards the rise, pushing aside the shimmering stalks. What she saw made her gasp softly. Before her stood an ancient stone circle, its massive moss-covered stones arranged in a perfect ring. They were unlike any stone she had ever seen, carved with symbols that seemed to writhe and flow with an inner life, though they were now dull and faded. In the very center of the circle, a single gnarled tree grew, its branches bare and twisted, reaching towards the heavens like skeletal fingers. But what truly captivated her was the faint ethereal glow emanating from the spaces between the stones, and from the gnarled tree itself. And with the glow came a sound so faint it was almost imperceptible, a ghost of a melody, a whisper of a song. It was the Starheart's song, or what was left of it. Lyra stepped into the circle, drawn by the haunting beauty of the sound. The air inside felt heavy, thick with forgotten dreams and faded hopes. The stillness was profound here, yet something was fighting against it, clinging to life. The star shard in Lyra's hand pulsed wildly, its light brightening to match the ethereal glow of the circle. Flicker flew from her shoulder and landed on one of the ancient stones, its own colors shimmering with an excited tremor. Lyra walked towards the central tree, her heart aching with a strange mixture of sorrow and hope. She placed her hand on its rough, cold bark. The faint melody, the echo of the Starheart's song, seemed to flow through her fingers, into her arm, and directly into her heart. It was a song of unimaginable beauty, of cosmic creation, of the vibrant dance of stars and planets. But it was also a song of profound sadness, a melody broken, a harmony shattered. It spoke of a great loss, a deep wound that had silenced its full voice, leaving only this sorrowful echo. As Lyra stood there listening with her entire being, a vision began to form in her mind, like shimmering mist. She saw a time long, long ago when the Starheart sang with glorious, resonant joy, filling the entire world with its vibrant magic. The world was alive with impossible colors, creatures of pure light, and a symphony of endless wonder. Then she saw a shadow, not a darkness but an absence, a gaping void that opened in the heart of the song. It wasn't an evil, but a great sorrow, a sacrifice made for a forgotten purpose, a melody given up to save something else. And with that sacrifice the vibrant song began to fade, slowly at first, then more rapidly, until only echoes remained, scattered across the land, whispering of what once was. This great silencing was the true beginning of the stillness. The vision faded, leaving Lyra breathless, tears pricking at her eyes. The Starheart hadn't just stopped singing, it had chosen to fall silent, for a reason she didn't yet understand. And the stillness wasn't just a symptom, but the consequence of that choice. She looked at the gnarled tree, then at the ancient stones, now seeing them not just as relics, but as silent witnesses to a cosmic tragedy. The star shard vibrated intensely in her hand, as if urging her, imploring her, to understand more. The map, tucked in her satchel, seemed to tug at her thoughts. The crystal spires, now looming so close, held the next secret. She realized the stone circle was not the Starheart itself, but a place of memory, a faint echo, a prelude to its true resting place. The journey had only just begun, and the mystery of the Starheart was far deeper, and far more poignant, than she had ever imagined. Lyra knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her bones, that she had to reach the crystal spires. There perhaps she would find the next piece of the puzzle, the truth behind the Starheart's silence, and the key to helping it sing again. With renewed determination, Lyra looked up at the moon-kissed peaks, their crystalline forms gleaming like distant promises. The path was long, but her heart was full of courage, and the star shard glowed steadily in her hand, a beacon guiding her towards the heart of the forgotten song. The path to the crystal spires was not a mapped road, but a whisper in the wind, a shimmer on distant horizons, and a resonant hum in Lyra's very soul. The first leg of her journey took her through the whispering woods, a place where ancient trees with bark like polished obsidian reached towards the sky, their branches interwoven to form a perpetual twilight canopy. Moonlight, filtered through countless leaves, dappled the forest floor in shifting patterns of silver and shadow. With the star shard held aloft, its gentle glow pushing back the deeper gloom, Lyra stepped deeper into the woods. The air here was cool and sweet, smelling of damp earth, night-blooming jasmine, and something else. Something ancient and alive, like the slow breath of the world itself. Phosphorescent mosses clung to the roots of trees, tracing luminous veins across the forest floor, guiding her steps like scattered starlight. The sounds of the forest were a symphony of rustles, soft chirps, and the distant, melodic calls of unseen creatures. It was a place of quiet magic, where the boundaries between dream and waking felt thin and permeable. As she walked, Lyra noticed that the animals of the whispering woods did not shy from her presence. A family of luminous moth deer, their antlers trailing trails of stardust, paused to watch her pass, their large, gentle eyes reflecting the star shard's light. Tiny, jewel-winged sprites flitted around her head, their laughter like the tinkling of miniature bells, before darting away into the deeper shadows. It was as if the forest recognized the purity of her intent, the noble quest that pulsed within her heart. One evening, as the moon climbed high and cast the forest in a silvery glow, Lyra found herself at the edge of the Moonpetal River. Its waters shimmered with an ethereal light, reflecting the stars above with startling clarity, each ripple a tiny galaxy. She knew this river was said to possess a unique magic, its currents carrying not just water, but echoes of ancient songs and forgotten stories. As she knelt by its bank, cupping her hands to drink, she heard it, a faint, harmonious melody, rising from the depths. It wasn't a song of words, but of pure sound, a blend of flowing water, whispering wind, and the deep thrum of the earth. Suddenly, a shimmering form coalesced from the river's heart. It was a creature of pure moonlight and flowing water, with eyes like polished river stones and hair like trailing algae, sparkling with dew. It was the river spirit, an ancient guardian of the moon petal. Its voice, when it spoke, was like the gentle rush of the current, soft yet resonant. Seeker of the silent song, the spirit murmured, its gaze falling upon the star shard in Lyra's hand. Your heart beats with the rhythm of the stars, and your purpose shines like the morning star. Lyra, awestruck, bowed her head. Wise river spirit, I seek the crystal spires, and the truth of the Starheart's silence. The spirit's form swirled, sending ripples of silver light across the water. The path to the spires is not merely one of physical distance, but of inner understanding. The mountains beyond these woods are treacherous, their peaks guarded by ancient winds and the slumbering dreams of forgotten giants. But the moon petal remembers the old ways. Drink deeply, child of the stars, and carry a piece of our song." As Lyra drank the cool, luminous water, she felt a surge of energy, not just physical but spiritual. A faint, almost imperceptible melody seemed to settle within her, a comforting hum that resonated with the star shard. The river spirit then extended a hand, and a single drop of water, shimmering with all the colors of the moonbow, detached itself and floated towards Lyra. It solidified into a small, smooth river stone, translucent and glowing with an inner light. "Let this songstone be your guide," the spirit intoned. "When the path grows dim, or your spirit falters, hold it close. It will sing the moon petals' courage into your heart and illuminate the way forward." With gratitude, Lyra clasped the songstone, feeling its gentle warmth spread through her palm. The river spirit then dissolved back into the shimmering currents, leaving only the melodic echo of its presence. Reinvigorated, Lyra continued her journey, leaving the whispering woods behind and venturing into the foothills of the Star-Crest Mountains. The ascent was gradual at first, through slopes covered in shimmering, hardy alpine flowers that glowed faintly in the perpetual twilight. The air grew thinner, crisper, carrying the scent of pine and distant snow. The trees here were gnarled and resilient, clinging to the rocky terrain, their branches etched with the patterns of wind and time. Lyra found herself climbing winding paths that hugged the mountain face, sometimes skirting sheer drops, other times plunging into narrow echoing ravines where waterfalls tumbled with deafening roars. The star shard continued to hum in her hand, its light unwavering. When darkness truly descended, and the moon was obscured by swirling mists, the songstone would pulse with a soft, steady glow, revealing footholds and guiding her past treacherous ledges. She learned to trust its subtle guidance, to listen to the whispers of the wind that seemed to carry the mountain's ancient wisdom. One night, high above the tree line, Lyra encountered the stone sentinels. They were colossal figures, carved from the very rock of the mountainside, standing guard over a narrow pass. Their forms were weathered by millennia, their faces stern and ancient, their eyes hollowed by time. As Lyra approached, a deep, rumbling voice echoed through the pass, seemingly originating from the very air around her. "Who dares trespass into the realm of the sleeping giants?" the voice boomed, making the ground tremble beneath her feet. "What purpose brings you to these hallowed heights?" Lyra stood tall, clutching the star shard and the songstone. "I am Lyra, and I seek the crystal spires. I carry a quest born of the stars, to awaken the Starheart's song." "Many have sought the spires," the voice rumbled, driven by curiosity or greed. Few passed the sentinel's gaze. "What proof do you offer of your true intent?" Lyra hesitated, then held out the star shard. Its light pulsed, brighter now, reflecting off the ancient stone faces of the sentinels. As she did, the songstone in her other hand also flared, its inner melody seeming to harmonize with the star shard's glow. A faint ethereal mist, smelling of mountain herbs and starlight, began to swirl around the sentinels. "The star shard's light is known to us," the voice softened slightly. "A beacon of the ancient covenant. And the moon petal's songstone, it speaks of purity and courage. Yet the path ahead demands more than just noble intent. It demands understanding. Tell us, Lyra, what do you know of the Starheart's silence?" Lyra took a deep breath. "I know only that it has fallen silent, and its song, which once guided our world, has faded. I feel its absence deep within me, a quiet ache that calls me to mend what is broken. I believe it is not truly silent, but perhaps merely unheard, or lost in a deep slumber. I seek to find its voice again, so that the stars may sing their full chorus once more." A long silence followed, broken only by the whistling wind. Then, the ground vibrated again, but this time, it was a gentle tremor. A shimmering pathway, made of solidified starlight, materialized between the two stone sentinels, curving upwards into the mist-shrouded peaks. "Your words resonate with the ancient truths," the voice finally spoke, softer now, almost a whisper. "The Starheart does not break, it only forgets, or is forgotten. Go forth, Lyra. The path is open. May the light of your star shard illuminate the way, and the song of your heart awaken what slumbers." With a grateful nod, Lyra stepped onto the shimmering path. It felt solid beneath her feet, yet ethereal, like walking on woven moonlight. The air grew colder, clearer, and the stars above seemed to blaze with an intensity she had never witnessed before. The star-crest mountains stretched around her, their jagged peaks now softened by the mystical light of the path, revealing veins of glittering mineral running through their ancient rock. Days bled into nights as Lyra continued her ascent. The landscape transformed into a realm of pure, crystalline beauty. The very ground beneath her feet began to sparkle, embedded with tiny luminous gems. The air hummed with a subtle energy, and the light, even in the deepest night, seemed to emanate from the world itself. Finally, after what felt like an age of climbing, she saw them. Rising majestically from the heart of the highest peaks, piercing the celestial veil, were the crystal spires. They were beyond anything she could have imagined. Not merely mountains of crystal, but living architecture, structures that seemed to have grown organically from the earth, yet shaped by an unseen divine hand. Each spire was a colossal pillar of translucent, shimmering crystal, catching and refracting the starlight into a dazzling aurora of colors. They pulsed with a soft internal light, a gentle, rhythmic glow that seemed to breathe with the universe. Some spires were slender and needle-sharp, others broader, faceted like colossal jewels, all reaching impossibly high, their tips disappearing into the starry expanse. The air around them vibrated with a profound stillness, a sacred quietude. Lyra felt a deep sense of reverence wash over her. This was not just a destination. It was a sanctuary, a place where the veil between worlds felt thin, where the very fabric of creation seemed to be woven from light and song. The star shard in her hand throbbed, beating in unison with the gentle pulse of the spires, its light intensifying, casting a pure white glow around her. As she drew closer, she noticed intricate patterns etched into the surface of the crystals, luminous glyphs that seemed to shift and dance with the light. They were ancient, telling stories of cosmic beginnings, of starfall and stardrift, of the Starheart's first song. The ground here was paved with naturally polished crystal, smooth and cool beneath her boots, reflecting the spires like a liquid mirror. In the very center of the spires, where the highest and most luminous towers converged, stood a particularly grand structure. It was not a single spire, but a cluster of them, forming a magnificent archway that led into a vast open-air chamber. The archway itself was woven with glowing crystalline vines, and from its apex hung a single, enormous crystal, shaped like a teardrop, that pulsed with a warm, golden light. As Lyra approached the archway, the star shard in her hand flared with such brilliance that she had to shield her eyes. The golden teardrop crystal above them resonated, sending out a gentle, chiming sound that filled the air. The crystalline vines along the archway glowed brighter, and the etched glyphs on the surrounding spires began to shimmer and dance, creating a breathtaking display of moving light. A figure emerged from the depths of the central chamber, stepping into the golden light beneath the archway. It was tall and slender, its form composed of swirling starlight and shimmering mist, adorned with delicate crystalline armor that seemed to be spun from moonbeams. Its face was serene, ageless, with eyes that held the wisdom of countless millennia, reflecting the entire cosmos within their depths. A crown of tiny orbiting star fragments floated above its head. "Welcome, Lyra of the Star Shard." The being's voice was a melodic whisper, like the rustle of stardust, yet it resonated deep within her chest. "We have awaited your coming. I am Eldrin, Weaver of Starlight, keeper of the crystalline archives." Lyra, humbled by the presence of such an ancient and luminous being, bowed deeply. "Honored Eldrin, I have journeyed far, guided by the call of the Starheart. I seek to understand its silence, and to help it sing again." Eldrin's cosmic eyes regarded her with profound understanding. "The Starheart's silence is not a new phenomenon, child. It is a deep slumber, brought on by a wound not of breaking but of forgetting. The world, in its swift passage, lost its connection to the ancient rhythm, and the Starheart, in its infinite empathy, retreated into itself, awaiting the one who would remember." "Remember what?" Lyra asked, her voice barely a whisper, her heart pounding with anticipation. "Remember the song of the first light," Eldrin replied, a ripple of starlight passing through its form. "The lullaby of creation, the melody that called the stars into being, and the Starheart into its first vibrant song. It is the only sound that can stir it from its deep sleep, for it is the sound of its own true self. For it is the sound of its own true self." Eldrin gestured with a graceful hand, and the golden teardrop crystal above them pulsed once more, sending a wave of warm light into the chamber beyond. "Step within, Lyra. The crystalline archives hold echoes of this ancient melody, fragments of its truth. But the full song of the first light cannot be found here. It must be rewoven, rediscovered, by one whose heart is pure enough to hear its silent call. Lyra stepped through the archway, her star shard still glowing brightly. The central chamber was breathtaking. It was a vast circular space, its walls and ceiling formed entirely of polished crystal, carved with cosmic maps and constellations. Thousands upon thousands of smaller crystals, each shimmering with a unique inner light, floated in the air, arranged in intricate, swirling patterns like miniature galaxies. These, Lyra realized, were the archives, each crystal holding a memory, a story, a fragment of ancient knowledge. In the center of the chamber, beneath a towering crystal spire that seemed to reach directly into the heavens, was a circular platform of pure, white crystal. Upon this platform rested a pedestal, and on the pedestal, a shimmering, empty crystalline bowl. "Place your star shard upon the altar of echoes," Eldrin instructed, its voice echoing gently through the vast space. "Let its light intertwine with the memories held within these spires." With trembling hands, Lyra carefully placed the star shard into the crystalline bowl. As it settled, a powerful surge of energy pulsed through the chamber. The star shard's light intensified, merging with the golden glow of the teardrop crystal above, and then spreading outwards, connecting to every single floating archive crystal. Suddenly, the chamber was alive with light and sound. The archive crystals began to hum, each emitting a faint, ethereal note. Thousands of individual tones, weaving together, creating a magnificent, otherworldly symphony. Images flickered across the crystal walls, visions of nebulae swirling into existence, of infant stars igniting, of planets coalescing from cosmic dust. Lyra saw the star heart itself, vast and radiant at the dawn of time, pouring its vibrant song into the nascent universe, shaping worlds, nurturing life. And then, slowly, gradually, she saw the shift. The song began to falter, its light dimmed as the beings of the world, once attuned to its every note, grew distant, their own songs becoming discordant. Eldrin approached the altar, its luminous form shimmering. "The song of the first light is not a simple tune, Lyra. It is the very essence of creation, a complex tapestry of sound and vibration. Here, you can hear its echoes, feel its resonance, but its true form lies elsewhere. It requires 3 threads to be rewoven: the whisper of the void, the laughter of the star children, and the tears of the moon. Only when these 3 elements are brought together, woven with the purity of a remembering heart, can the complete..." Lyra absorbed the words, her mind reeling with the enormity of the task. The whisper of the void, the laughter of the star children, the tears of the moon, where do I find such things? Eldrin gently placed a translucent, star-dusted hand on her shoulder. "The crystalline archives have shown us glimpses. The whisper of the void is said to reside in the deepest heart of the Shadowfell Peaks, a range of mountains perpetually shrouded in cosmic dust, where forgotten knowledge is guarded by the echo weavers. The laughter of the star children, that is a more elusive quest. It is said to be found only amongst the star nomads, a wandering folk who traverse the celestial currents on the star skiffs, their hearts forever connected to the star heart's original joy. And the tears of the moon, oh, so gathered in nested." The task seemed daunting, almost impossible. 3 separate, profound quests, each to a different, mysterious corner of the world. Lyra felt a flicker of doubt, a shadow of weariness after her long journey. But then, the star shard in the bowl pulsed again, and the songstone in her pocket warmed, their combined light pushing back the encroaching shadows. She remembered the river spirit's courage, the stone sentinel's wisdom. "It is a long road, Lyra," Eldrin said, sensing her thoughts. "But your heart carries the star heart's own spark. The path will reveal itself, step by step. Your star shard will guide you to the Shadowfell Peaks. Seek out the echo weavers. They are the first thread, the memory of what was before creation, the quiet breath from which all sound emerged." The images on the crystal walls began to fade, the symphony of echoes softening, gradually returning to the chamber's sacred quiet. Lyra reached for her star shard, feeling its familiar weight and warmth in her hand. The songstone, too, felt like a comforting presence. "Thank you, Eldrin," Lyra said, her voice filled with renewed resolve. "I will seek the Shadowfell Peaks. I will find the whisper of the void." Eldrin nodded, its eyes shimmering with approbation. "Go, Lyra. The star heart waits. The journey will test your spirit, but it will also reveal the deepest truths within yourself. The stars sing their encouragement, and the moon watches over your steps. May your heart be your compass and your courage your light." With that, Eldrin's luminous form began to subtly dissipate, its starlight merging back into the glowing ambience of the crystalline archives, leaving Lyra alone in the vast echoing chamber, surrounded by the silent, watchful crystals. She took a moment, letting the enormity of her new quest settle upon her. The path was even longer than she had initially imagined, weaving through different realms and dimensions of magic. But the purpose was clearer now, the goal more defined. She was not just seeking a puzzle piece, she was gathering the very elements of creation to reweave a song that had been lost to time. Lyra turned and walked back through the grand archway, out into the ethereal glow of the crystal spires. The air was crisp and cold, but her heart felt warm, ignited by purpose. She looked out at the vast star-dusted landscape, the distant, shadowy peaks of the Shadowfell already beckoning on the horizon. The star shard pulsed steadily in her hand, a beacon guiding her towards the first thread of the lost melody, towards the whisper of the void and the heart of the forgotten song. The journey continued. Unwind. The star shard thrummed with a gentle, insistent rhythm against Alara's palm, a tiny star trapped within clear crystal. It didn't point a direction so much as sing one, a faint internal hum that tugged her west, towards the deepening violet of the horizon. The crystalline spires of Ethel glimmered behind her, soon dissolving into the pearlescent mist that clung to the lower slopes. The glittering crystal spires gave way to rolling, moss-carpeted hills, where ancient, gnarled trees with obsidian-like bark formed silent canopies. This was the Whispering Woods, the Shadowfell's boundary. Here, sounds were muted, absorbed by the earth, creating a reverent quiet, a silence of profound depth, where every rustle felt magnified, a secret whispered just for her. Days blurred into a journey of quiet determination, guided by the star shard's pulse and subtle magical currents. She drank moonlight streams and ate shimmering berries, her only companions the forest creatures and growing anticipation. Deeper still, the mossy hills yielded to stark, jagged rock formations, dark as night, yet veined with glimmering minerals. This was the Shadowfell proper, a place of profound stillness and ancient magic, not fear. Here, shadows were not merely an absence of light, but graceful, dancing forms, reaching for the stars with quiet reverence. The star shard pulsed, its light intensifying, casting a blue glow on the obsidian terrain. It led her to a vast sunken crater, ringed by dark spires. At its center, nestled in shadows, was the obsidian lake, not water but pure shimmering darkness so still and deep it seemed to absorb all sound, light, and thought. This was the heart of the Shadowfell. Alara approached the obsidian lake in awe. The star shard vibrated intensely. She knelt, peering into the inky depths, no reflection, just endless, velvety blackness. Yet she perceived not a sight but a sensation, a profound stillness not empty but full of everything that wasn't the absence that defined presence, the silence that allowed sound. This was the whisper of the void. It wasn't a sound for ears, but for the deepest self. The fundamental hum of non-existence, the resonant silence before creation, the breath held before a word. As her mind quieted, the star shard in her hand glowed brighter, matching the lake's stillness. It wasn't about finding an object, she realized, but yetting. The star shard was not just a beacon, it was a key, a vessel. She extended her hand, star shard nestled in her palm towards the obsidian lake. As her hand hovered, a faint tremor ran through the air. It was the whisper, not a sound, but a feeling of profound resonance, a vibration settling deep within her bones, expanding her senses. The star shard pulsed, absorbing the silent vibration. It drank the stillness, the void, understanding it without diminishing the lake. An ethereal wisp like moonlight spun from darkness, detached from the surface and was drawn into the star shard, the very essence of the whisper, now contained within the crystal. As the whisper settled into the star shard, the crystal didn't just glow, it resonated. A low, beautiful hum emanated, felt in the chest, a deep vibration spreading through the Shadowfell. The silent lake shimmered with inner light, and the Whispering Woods' ancient trees seemed to sigh. Alara felt a profound understanding bloom within her. The forgotten song wasn't a melody to be sung aloud, not a tune to be learned, note by note. It was the underlying harmony of existence itself, the fundamental truth that bound all things. And the whisper of the void was its deepest, most essential note, the silence from which all sound springs, the stillness that allows all motion. The song wasn't lost, it was merely unheard, drowned out by the clamor of the world. By retrieving the whisper, she hadn't found a piece of the song, she had retuned the world's ear to hear it again. She held the star shard aloft. Its indigo light expanded into a gentle, protective sphere around her. As she walked back, the sphere pulsed softly, extending its silent harmony. The profound shadows now felt like soft velvet, cradling the awakened resonance. The journey back was different. The whispering woods no longer seemed merely silent, but reverberant with subtle unheard melodies. The moss glowed brighter, the trees seemed to hum with internal life. Even the crisp air carried a faint sweet tang of renewed magic. When Elara finally emerged from the whispering woods, the crystal spires of Athol glimmered in the distance, bathed in the soft glow of dawn. The world felt clearer. Colors were richer, sounds more vibrant, yet there was a deep underlying peace. The song wasn't a loud symphony, but a gentle, ever-present hum, felt in the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the warmth of the rising sun. It was the song of being, the music of existence, now gently audible to those who would listen. She walked back through Ethel's grand archway, the star shard glowing with serene indigo light. Its purpose fulfilled, it had not just guided her, it held the key, and now the restored essence of the world's silent harmony. The elders of Ethel met her, their faces alight with understanding even before she spoke. They felt it too, the subtle shift in the world, the returning whisper of the forgotten song. It wasn't a sudden grand fanfare, but a gentle reawakening, a quiet remembrance that permeated everything. Elara, once a seeker, was now a keeper of this rediscovered truth. She didn't need to explain it with words, for the world itself now sang its quiet affirmation. The star shard, nestled back in its rightful place within the Ethel archives, continued to pulse, a constant reminder of the profound stillness that held all life. And so, the world found its balance. The people of Ethel, and indeed, all who lived in the lands beyond, began to notice it. A deeper sense of peace, a quiet joy in the simple things, a renewed appreciation for the harmony of nature. They learned to listen not just with their ears, but with their hearts, to the gentle eternal song that resonated through the fabric of the world. Elara, too, found a new peace. Her heart, once ignited by purpose, now glowed with a quiet contentment. She had ventured into the silent depths and brought back not just a whisper, but the very breath of the forgotten song, allowing the world to remember its own beautiful ancient melody. And as the stars twinkled above the crystal spires, a soft, harmonious hum settled over the land, a lullaby from the universe itself, promising sweet dreams and a world forever retuned to the music of magic.